You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, it was quite the evening last night, and all during the night. Josh, you get any rain over where you were?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, so did we. We got about 4 inches according to our gauge anyway. And back there got several areas of standing water around the yard and all that. We needed the rain, but we sure got it. You know, there you go.
Exactly.
It was hard getting up this morning, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
oh, man.
You just want to lie there and contemplate while the rain falls and all that. But no, I have a duty to my vast listening audience to provide them with great information and knowledge. And here I am.
So we get to work, right?
Yeah. We are going to talk about what I am calling the Trump whiplash syndrome. This whiplash syndrome is like back and forth. You know, it's like today it's this, tomorrow it's that. It's very Orwellian. You know, it's like, are you familiar with George Orwell in 1984?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know, what was said yesterday, what are you talking about? Today, this is the operative statement, you know, and it's, you know, a lot of presidents do that. You know, Biden did it, Obama did, blah, blah, blah. All right. This is a common thing where, oh, no, you must be mistaken. I never said that. And when they show them the tape and it's fake news, you know, and stuff like that. But it really is getting to be, it's making me dizzy, hence the title, you know. Anyway, I'm going to talk about 4 areas in which things are just, it's back and forth. And it's not good for the American economy. It's not good for the American people. It's not good for our stability. It's not good for our relationships with foreign countries. And I have serious concerns about where this is heading. And I'll say, you know, one of the things I think I'll conclude with is that the beating the Republicans are going to get in November next year is going to be significant. And they're going to have earned it. You know, they'll blame media and they'll blame this Democrat lying or whatever else. And who knows how much that has to do with it. But they're going to, this first year of Trump's administration has been very, very difficult. Not just because of outside events beyond our control, but also just this constant back and forth on tariffs, on Ukraine, on dealing with the Epstein files, which I'm not even going to address today because I think that's an overblown media-produced thing. And don't take that to mean that it's not important what happened. It's incredibly important and it's terrible. That's not what I'm saying at all, so don't misunderstand that. I'm just saying that the whole kerfluffle about the Epstein files, I think a lot of it is for political advantage and not because they're trying to find the truth what happened to those poor young women. As you know, they're being victimized again, I believe. There, I said I wasn't going to talk about it and just did. Okay? Did anyway. By the way, Josh, we almost broke a record last Thursday.
With what? With
a number of views with Colin Gregory and Cameron Pilgrim, the 2 police officers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we blew the lid off the view numbers. And a lot of that has to do with when Colin puts it on the Burleson PD page, it really boosts it. My all-time record was also a Colin Gregory show. We're going to have Colin and Cameron on again on December 8th, so that's going to be like part 2 of a very distressing subject.
Yeah. I mean, it was a really good show.
Yeah, and I would
if those of us in the vast listening audience haven't heard it yet, I go back and watch it for sure.
Yeah, I would too, particularly if you have young children in your life. It's terrible. I left feeling on Thursday, feeling pretty bad because
it was heavy.
It was heavy, yeah, and it's going to be heavy again, but it needs to be done.
Exactly.
This is just me ranting. I'm getting it off my chest. So before I rant and rave, though, let's talk about our sponsors to make all this happen. First of all, thank you to Otto at our place. It was great as usual last Thursday. By the way, if you're looking to buy pies from them, I think they're pretty much booked out. They wanted to have that done by Friday. And I think it's going to be very difficult to get one in, and that's too bad because the pies are really, really good, and they're made there, so they're not shipped out from somewhere and that kind of thing. So you can call and ask and see if they have any left, but I think they're pretty much booked out. Also, Gina's. I was there twice last week, and I had that Chicago dog. After the show, I went and met a friend from BNI there, Mr. Greg Williams from Schoolie Mitchell. I know, little shout out there. And I had that Chicago dog, and so did he. And it's really good. I like hot dogs anyway, but it's really good. It has little hot peppers and tomatoes and whatever else. So it's a good time. It really is. Also, thank you to John Williams. I bet he's getting the phone calls right now. He's getting called at 817-734-2756. I didn't worry about my roof. When it's raining last night, I'm just lying there thinking, this is great. I don't have to worry about my roof. Why? Because John Williams told me that I was in good shape, and therefore I didn't have to worry about any of that, water coming in my house. Anyway, so Old Pro Roofing is who John works with. Old Pro Roofing, his company here in Burleson. They're over at Old Town. So if you need to call them, they're right down the street. And you're going to get probably a few people knocking on your door and all that. And if they want to, I get it. They want to do business, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody trying to do business. But still, you want to do so with home folks. Hang on a minute, Josh. Are we getting linked up here? I'm not seeing it yet. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's technical errors on my part, not. Well, it's not new there. That's for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't us for once.
Yeah, right. No, it just took a little while to post. That's all there's to it. And I'm just sharing here. Also, I would ask John to come by and take a look at what's going on. Why? Because you need to have the peace of mind it takes when you have these kind of rainstorms. Now, I think we're done with rain for a little while, but we're going to have bad weather again next month after. So give them a call again, 817-734-2756. Also, thank you to our friend Jeff Kelly, 817-781-0546 at the Wethington Agency. If you're looking to buy or sell in this county, he'll do it for you. He's got several homes for showing, and he is doing a lot of business, particularly in Joshua and Godley. We've talked about this. He, like John and like my friend Al coming up, Jeff is a member of BNI, and we talk every week, and so he's telling me that, man, Godley's blowing up, and Cleburne's about to have some big developments come out there. I don't know how often you get out to Cleburne, and they got a huge apartment complex going up right next to Hill College. I mean, it's gigantic.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be good for Hill College because probably a lot of their students will live there.
Exactly.
Well, it'd be nice. Anyway, 817-781-0546 or Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. And my buddy Al over at Bass Printing. Get 1,000 business cards for $65 or 25 trifold brochures for $199. I've done both when I was promoting this show in the late lamented radio, and it was a good deal, and it got exactly what I wanted, and it was on time, and it's good to go. 817-616-8761. So if you're looking for promotional items, call Al. I mean, whatever you want to put, he can put together. And he does stuff for BNI, like our banners and our table banners and stuff that we'll put in the chamber showcase in February and things like that. So he does bigger stuff than just hats or cups, but he can do just about anything you want to put your logo on. So give him a call again, 817-616-8761 or bassprinting.com, and set you up. Let's see, anybody else? I think there is one, 88.3 The Journey. I've been talking to Rich Hooper, and I said I'd be helping him out because he helps me out. And they're a nonprofit. They're, these other radio stations, God bless them, Christian or otherwise, they're there to make a living. I get it. And he's all good with that. But this is a nonprofit. So if you want to contribute and keep Christian music on the air, then 88.3 Journey is a good place to send your money. And so just give them a holler, see how you can help. So where do we begin? Just Trump whiplash syndrome. I think most people who watch or have heard the show, when I talk about Mr. Trump, understand I'm not a big Trump fan. Okay, I'm not. Let's put that out there right now. I still consider myself a conservative, but I no longer consider myself a Republican in the Trumpian sense, so to speak. I still, the values I have as a Republican haven't changed, but the Republican Party certainly has, and it's kind of left me in the dust, just like many people say about the Democrat Party, and that's the real shame of it. I just about 90% of the people I talk to are not partisan either party anymore. They're either liberal or conservative and always have been, but they don't feel like their party represents them anymore. I was talking to a couple of former Democrats, and the leanings are still what the Democrat Party was, a while back, but they feel like they've been pretty much kicked to the curb because of all the virtue signaling and DEI and you name it. And then you talk to Republicans and like, hey, we didn't vote for this. And a lot of Republicans I know didn't vote for that. They voted third party. or something like that because they're still conservative. But what they're seeing here makes it very difficult for them to support. And part of the reason is it's a total and complete inconsistency that we see with this administration. Today is one thing, tomorrow is the next. And the first example I'm going to use is Trump and Zoran Mamdani. All throughout the New York mayor's election, Trump is talking about how he's a communist and he's going to ruin New York and all this other stuff. And then you get this photo like this one, this new bromance between Trump and Mamdani, and they say nice things about each other. And I get that that they have to work together, and I get that you don't always get to pick who you get to work with, but the sugar they slopped on each other just was a little high for my diabetes. I could tell you that. It's all this talk about Trump being a fascist and Mamdani being a communist somehow just went out the window. And, and I guess they think that this kind of photograph of them shaking hands and playing footsie with each other is going to do American people a lot of good. I don't expect Mamdani to walk in the White House office and spit at him, and I don't expect Trump to be hostile. I want him to have some decorum, which he doesn't always show. But this is too much. So why don't you run that first clip, if you would.
Tonight, in a Hollywood-style twist,
I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up.
President Trump and incoming New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani trading their past clashes for compliments.
The better he does, the happier I am.
I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation.
A stunning shift after repeatedly blasting each other for weeks.
Their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation.
Donald Trump attacks the very fabric of this democracy.
The president was asked about those past clashes.
I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually.
The president's warm welcome included stepping in when a reporter pressed Mamdani on his past attacks on the president.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Mamdani saying he found common ground with the president after speaking with Trump voters in deep blue New York City.
There were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living, and I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
They have starkly different views. Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, has pledged rent freezes and government-run grocery stores and criticized law enforcement, including ICE.
We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. If there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out maybe more than I do.
And the president was asked if he'd feel comfortable with Mayor Mamdani in his hometown.
Yeah, I would. I really would, especially after the meeting. The question is, we bring it back all the way? And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Garrett, let's pick it up right there. The president famously moved from Trump Tower to Mar-a-Lago permanently, saying he was being treated unfairly by city and state leaders in New York. But today, saying he would be open to moving back?
Well, Tom, the president also predicted New Yorkers would flee to Florida to escape a Mamdani-led New York City. But tonight he said he'd absolutely be comfortable living in New York under this incoming mayor.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking.
The deal about this is that you know the maddest people about this love chat that they just had, who the maddest people are? Republican campaign managers, because they were all ready to roll with an anti-Mamdani advertisements in the next midterm elections. See, they have elected a communist in New York. This is what the Democrats stand for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they have Mr. Trump slopping sugar all over him. He just short-circuited their campaign, at least in that particular area. Now, who knows what's going to happen in a year? And again, I talked to a couple of people about it, and they said, it's nice to see them getting along. Well, yeah, great, but let's talk about it 6 months from now. And let's see if Mr. Trump is still as magnanimous and saying, let's give him time to work, and I hope it works for him, and all this other stuff. And let's see if Mr. Mamdani is actually listening to Trump voters and maybe scaling back some of the more outlandish ideas. Rent control is a terrible idea. Government-funded grocery stores is a terrible idea. As far as free transportation, it's not a bad idea if you can afford it. And I don't know if New York can afford it because that's a very expensive city to travel in. So who knows? But I'm just saying, let's just see how long this bromance lasts. In fact, yesterday on Meet the Press, Kristen Welker asked him these questions. I think it's the second one, I believe. This was the headline from the article. Mamdani says he still believes Trump a fascist after a cordial White House meeting. Okay, I think there's a little brief clip there that we can run. Come on, it's schooling.
Here's why you
All
should
right.
switch.
Oh, they messed me up. Well, it didn't matter. Let's just drop it, okay? Because it's, we had it set up and then advertisements. Anyway, the thing about what happened on the show yesterday on Meet the Press was she asked, do you still think he's a fascist? Like you called him all this time. And he goes, well, yeah, sure. But yes, we want our politicians to get along and get together. That's been one of my biggest complaints is that I think Democrats say if it's a Republican, I'm against it, and Republicans say if it's a Democrat, I'm against it. It didn't really matter how good it is or how wise it is. They can't come together. It's strictly a matter of my party supports it, my party does not, and I hate that. I'd like to think that our representatives could take issues and look at them objectively. My problem is with all of this is that I don't mind a cordial meeting, but I just don't like it when they totally backtrack on everything they've said for the last 6 months and act like we never heard any of that. That never was said. But there you go. Trump is not always known to be cordial. Do you hear what he called a reporter on Air Force One a couple of days ago? You don't.
No, I did not.
Well, they were a female journalist was asking him a question on Air Force One, and he goes, "Quiet, piggy,
Oh,
quiet, piggy."
I have heard that actually.
Oh yeah, he called a reporter piggy because she asked him a question, even if it's not a very nice question, which according to everything I read was just your typical run of the mill question. He just didn't want to talk about it. Calling her piggy is come on, you're not 12, all right? You're the president of the United States. He did this when he was running the first time where he made fun of a reporter for having disabilities. He was had cerebral palsy, I believe, and he made fun of him for that. And, come on, Mr. Trump, you're the president of the United States. You don't call people piggy, even if they irritate you. Part of the job is you take a few shots. And even if that reporter, which, again, I didn't even hear the question, by all reports was just your standard question. He just didn't want to answer it. He could just say, I don't feel like answering it, please, instead of calling her piggy and telling her to be quiet. So that's what I'm talking about. We don't need this in a president. Joe Biden did some stupid stuff like that. He called reporters SOBs and stuff like that. That didn't make it any better. Joe Biden's a knucklehead, and he was already in deep dementia by this point. Bush got all sorts of flack when he was running for 2024 when a hot mic caught him and Dick Cheney calling a New York Times reporter an a-hole. But it was a hot mic moment, okay? And it was not something that was done in public. And they made a big deal about that. Well, it was supposedly a private conversation that just got caught on the air. And that's just goofy, to call people names like that. And that really did bother me a lot because this is the president of the United States and he doesn't need to be acting like he's in junior high. And if you want to call her all sorts of names in the Oval Office in private, get after it. I'm not going to be there to monitor it and I don't care. But in public, grow up and show some decorum, please. Let's talk about his tariffs. And you talk about something going back and forth. About 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, roughly, the Supreme Court heard a case about the tariffs. And is Mr. Trump's use of them constitutional or not? My personal opinion is they're not. Because, first of all, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 gives that power to Congress. And if they said, well, they gave him that power, there's also something called the non-delegation theory of politics or constitutional law. And the non-delegation theory is there's certain things that Congress can't give away, like they have been for the last 50 years, including war powers, among other things. The non-delegation power doesn't mean just because they pass a law doesn't make it a part of the Constitution. In other words, Congress can't give the power of taxation to the president, even if they wanted to, which they apparently did with tariffs. Now, you look at the 1977 Act that he's using for this, doesn't say anything about tariffs. It just says he can impose, in an emergency situation, certain restrictions on trade. Now, that's very vague, and it was intentionally vague. But this up and down, up and down, up and down kind of thing with the tariffs is ruining our economy. And there's no question about it. It's ruining our economy. If you go into the grocery store anytime soon, I do the grocery shopping in our family, and I can promise you things are more expensive. I don't. Josh, do you go to the grocery store very often?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay. Do you go? Are you like hamburger, for example?
Yeah.
You're not. I know you're not a big meat eater, but you're not a big eater at all.
On. Yes.
It's obvious you don't eat much, but you're not a vegetarian, are you?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm not.
Good for you.
I can enjoy a good New York strip.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so and I've spoiled my wife. I can't just get her sirloin. Oh no, I have to get her the good stuff. But anyway, the point is that somewhat lean hamburger meat is now nearly $7 a pound. I find that astounding because it's amazing. And before anybody thinks cattle ranchers are getting rich, my cousin, who's in that business, can tell you they ain't getting rich. All right, but it's also just about everything you can think of is getting more expensive, and a lot of it has to do with tariffs. All right, and so roll that clip about his latest tariff business.
The White House also under pressure on the economy and the issue of affordability as costs remain high, especially on grocery items, despite President Trump's insistence that prices are coming down. According to NBC News' latest grocery price tracker, the price of orange juice, as well as beef, bacon, and chicken, are all up at least 5% compared to last year. On Friday, the Trump administration announced it was rolling back tariffs on some food products, including coffee, bananas, and beef. One of the administration's top economic officials insisted tariffs do not lead to higher prices, but says this rollback will lead to lower prices.
How soon do we expect the prices on those goods now to go down?
Right. Well, the prices for those goods weren't necessarily going up just because of tariffs, and so the prices will go down. Well, the prices will go down, of course, but
because the tariffs have been taken off.
Right. Well, and because the supply of the goods into the U.S. is going to increase.
Stop. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung.
My head is about to explode. Are you kidding me? The tariffs didn't cause prices to rise, but lowering the tariffs will cause them to come down. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I've been teaching economics most of my adult life, and I could tell you, I may not be, have a doctorate after my name, but that doesn't make any sense. And it didn't make any sense even to people who don't have any education in economics. It just, if tariffs are meant to raise prices to prevent trade, and you lower them, they're going to come down. All right? The idea that the tariffs aren't causing the prices to rise is ludicrous, and nobody should be able to sit in front of a reporter and say that. And I hope they don't let them get away with it. But I hope you American people, if you have a chance to talk to your elected representatives in town hall meetings, tell them how stupid this idea is, that the idea that tariffs don't raise prices but lowering them will. Why? You'll have more supply. Okay, that makes sense. Then wasn't the opposite effect to decrease supply? Oh, no. That wasn't it at all. And that guy, Kevin Hassett, is the economic advisor to the president. And I've read some of his stuff when he was an opinion maker on some of the more conservative news sites. You talk about a sellout. That's exactly what that is, because that's not what he wrote back in the day. But anyway, the point I'm making is that it doesn't make any sense what they're doing with the tariffs. Why do we have tariffs against Brazil? Not because we have this massive trade deficit. We actually have a trade surplus with Brazil. They buy more of our stuff than we buy of theirs. The biggest reason, and Trump said this, and it came up in that Supreme Court case, the reason why we have tariffs with Brazil, he didn't like the way they treated their former president, Jair Bolsonaro, who's a friend of his. And former president's now doing time in jail in Brazil for corruption and all sorts of things. Now, I don't know anything about the story, really. Is it miscarriage of justice, whatever? I don't know. Let's say it is. That's their problem, not ours. All right? And for Trump to make it his problem is ridiculous. And so this idea that the tariffs are meant in an emergency situation to protect our home industries and whatever else is ludicrous. Now, some people say, well, he really doesn't mean it to protect the industries. He's doing it as leverage to do certain things, get them to do certain things, not just in the realm of economics. So we're going to pay the price for it. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, we're paying the price for it. And the thing about it is, who's paying the price? It's going to be you and me and most people listening who go to the grocery store or, just any number of things. Auto parts. I just had my car worked on. My goodness. Now, these guys that are working on my car, I mean, they're not driving around a Mercedes themselves, but I'm just saying it costs money for what used to be relatively routine fender bender work. And so if I didn't have Texas Farm Bureau insurance, I'd have been in deep doo-doo. But the point is that that so many things are going up, not just groceries, even though that's the most obvious one. The rent is going up. Oh gosh, gasoline goes up and down, up and down, up and down. As far as other products, just routine household products are just going through the roof. And it's a lot of it has to do with some factors not related to the tariffs, but a lot of it does. Now the response is, well, inflation started with Joe Biden. It sure did. Okay, I'm not giving him a pass one iota. His economic policies were equally as stupid by flooding the market with all that money, and then it caused all that inflation. And then he's blowing it off as temporary, or no serious economist thinks it's happening. And then, of course, it cost them the election more, that and the border issues. The point is that it doesn't matter what Joe Biden did. Donald Trump gets in the first day of office. He says, I'm going to lower him day one. Well, okay. I didn't take it seriously. Nobody else did either. But we didn't expect higher prices a year later. That's not what was happening. And if we're lowering the price on, or tariffs on bananas and coffee and all these other things that we don't make here in the United States hardly, that sounds like a deal to me. As a coffee drinker, I could tell you that the prices went up because, again, I do the shopping. It used to be a container of those little K-cups at H-E-B. About 15 of them would cost about a dozen rather, would cost about $12, $13. Now it's about $15. All right.
Yeah. And you know why?
And why?
It's because, geographically, coffee cannot grow in the United States.
Well, sure.
There's one state that is in the coffee belt, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. That's Hawaii, and they do not have large enough farms to sustain.
No, I like Kona coffee.
Yeah.
But also, bananas, it can grow them in Florida and all this other stuff, but not nearly to meet the demand in the United States. I mean, and it doesn't make any sense to grow them, stuff that is grown other places. If bananas are more cheaply grown in Brazil, buy them from Brazil, and we'll spend our time and money elsewhere. That's called comparative advantage. I taught that for years. If any of my former students are listening or will listen, they'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't make any sense for us to try to compete in bananas. It didn't make any sense to compete with oranges. Orange juice going up nearly a third. I was at a restaurant, and one of the people at the table ordered a glass of orange juice. It was about maybe 8 ounces, $4.50 for a glass of orange juice. I'm not going to name the restaurant because it's not their fault. I mean, they're not gouging people on orange juice, but I don't want to give them that impression that this particular restaurant is doing that. It's not our place, by the way. All right. I didn't choose the place, so sorry, Otto.
Shout out, Otto.
Yeah. Otto, forgive me. I didn't choose the place, but it wasn't our place. I don't even like orange juice, to tell you the truth, but there you go. It's too bitter or acidic for me. Oh, by the way, did you know that when we lowered the tariffs on Switzerland, they gave him a gold bar with 45/47 stamped on it, his presidential numbers, worth $130,000. And they gave him an antique gold, solid gold Rolex desk clock. His value is millions of dollars. Now you say, are they bribing him? Well, let's put it this way. Presidents have been receiving gifts since Washington's day. Okay, that's nothing new. Some of these gifts are pretty expensive. I went to the Bush Museum, and there were gifts from foreign leaders given to Mr. Bush, and they were in the Bush Museum. There were things, I don't know if it's still open, but there was a museum for Tommy Franks, who led the first Gulf War conflict back in the early 90s, and his wife is from the Hobart area, and so that's where in Hobart, Oklahoma, they have a small little museum of that first war, and there were a lot of stuff given to both Mr. Franks and the president, General Franks, I should say, and the president. That's okay. Okay, it really is. If they give this gold desk clock and he puts it in the Trump library or gives it to some university, then it's not a problem. I mean, Obama got tons of gifts. I don't know what Biden did. I don't know at all. But giving the president of the United States a token of your appreciation is not the issue. It's what they're going to do with it later. Are they going to keep it or not? This got the Clintons in trouble because people gave them stuff and they had to keep it. And when they found out they had to pay taxes on it, they were a little bit surprised, to say the least. They took a lot of stuff out of the White House they shouldn't have. And they had to either return it or give it to the Clinton library or pay tax on it. So, but the point is the president, we're going to have to wait and see what they're going to do with these gifts. Again, if he gives it to the Trump library, okay, that's considered to be a donation. But if he's going to use it personally, then that's a different thing entirely. By the way, a lot of people are bellyaching about building that East Wing again. That's being totally financed privately. And you say, well, that's great. It's saving us money. They're not giving the money for this East Wing out of the goodness of their heart or any patriotic resolve. They're doing it like most people are doing it, curry favor with the current administration. I would wish that we'd have a situation where that wasn't such on display. I mean, and again, it's not just with Trump, but it's gotten to be really noticeable and out of hand, I think, in some ways, like that plane from Qatar, $1 billion plane. Now, theoretically, it's still property of the United States. What happens afterwards, we don't know. He could donate it to the Trump library and he could use it all he wants. So there you go. Let's go to Mr. Zelensky and Trump. This one really bothers me as well. If you're not keeping up to date with what's going on with Ukraine, basically, Trump on Saturday said, Vladimir, you have until Thursday, till Thanksgiving, to make a deal with Putin, or we're going to withdraw. And this is where I really get the whiplash, is our deal with Ukraine. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Do we have that picture? Yeah, there it is. First, they don't get along, then they do, then they don't, then they do, then they don't. And, it seems like all that Putin needs to do is get on the phone and call Mr. Trump, and the bromance is back on again. And basically, Trump, this is one of the things that's motivated him greatly. He desperately wants to have the Nobel Peace Prize. All right? He thinks he should have won it for, in his mind, ending the Gaza conflict, which it has gone down quite a bit, even though there's still lots to go on that one. That's far from over, but it has subsided quite a bit. But he wants it very badly. In fact, one of the reasons, again, he put a tariff on India. Why? Not because India is killing our markets. It's because their prime minister flatly refused to nominate him for a Nobel Prize for ending a brief conflict between India and Pakistan, which flares up like shingles, every now and then. And it was about a 3-day little conflict. Trump says, knock it off. They both had already come to that conclusion. He wants the Nobel Prize. The Indian prime minister, a guy named Modi, says he had nothing to do with it. And so bang, there's a tariff. And that's no kidding. All right. The problem with the peace plan that's put forth by Mr. Trump and his administration is that basically it's going to consolidate all the gains that Russia has made in this war. There's no peace treaty without basically saying, okay, what you got, Vladimir Putin, you can keep. And this is after 4 years, it's about 3 years, coming on 4. It was in 2022 when they started, February, I believe. Who are bombing hospitals, schools, kindergartens, residential complexes, cities, destroying cities. All that you're going to be rewarded for, Mr. Putin. And even though Trump had promised certain weapons, we're not getting them. They're not getting them. Even though they promised certain support, they're not getting it. Most of the Europeans have stepped up, which I don't have a problem with. I really don't. But I think the United States needs to be part of that. I support supporting Ukraine. Now, a lot of my friends don't, and that's great. We can have a discussion on that because they think it's not of our business and all this other stuff. What they don't understand is if we're not supporting Ukraine and letting Ukrainians have the materials they need to fight, will be fighting the Russians eventually, because they're not going to stop at what they got. They're going to try to take over the rest of Ukraine, just like Hitler did with Czechoslovakia. And they're going to go into the Baltic states, which we are formally aligned with through NATO. They're going to go into Moldova, which we don't have a relationship with that much, so we'll just probably blow that one off. But as far as sooner or later, we're going to be fighting the Russians if we don't stop Putin. And we'll be doing it with American personnel. We'll either be doing it in Poland, or we'll be doing it in the Baltic states, or we will have totally abdicated our role in NATO, and that the consequences of that are even worse. It'll be worse than what we did after World War I, when we just walked away from it and let fascism grow without any kind of resistance at all. But anyway, that's a real problem, because Putin is psychotic on the issue of Ukraine. If he gets what he gets out of this Trump peace deal, what you'll have is a pause in the action. Trump will strut around saying he ended the war, and then a couple of years from now, it'll start all over again, just like it happened in 2014. They took over Crimea without firing a shot practically, and Obama said, well, if they do anything more, dadgummit, I'm going to be really mad. And Putin said, yeah, okay, I hear you. And then here we are now. And so my point is that we need to support Ukraine, and we can't keep this jerking back and forth. And we can't keep putting Zelensky in this kind of ultimatum situation where either you take the deal or you don't. And if you don't take the deal, we're picking up our toys and going home. And good luck. What Trump says, if Zelensky doesn't take this deal, he can, quote, fight his little heart out. That's a nice quote. Lastly, some of y'all probably saw Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned from Congress. Boy, there she is. This is a screen grab from her announcement on YouTube where she made this resignation. And boy, did she hose the Republicans. And that was not unintentional at all. She is set to resign January 9th. What happens is that when the new session's gavelled in, which is around January 5th or so, she will have the 5 years she needs to be vested in the congressional retirement pension. Okay, wonderful. But doing it on the 9th and doing it that late will prevent Georgia from having a special election for months. They probably by that time have already had their primaries. And so basically the Republicans are one less vote now in Congress, and she knows that. Mike Johnson has one less Republican vote. And all this sugar that they're slopping on Marjorie Taylor Greene for, all the anti-Trump things she's been saying the last couple of months. Trump's calling her Marjorie Traitor Greene, and, Mark Levin called her that when I was running to the radio stations a couple of weeks ago. All this slop they're throwing on her, on The View, New York Times, how she's speaking truth to power, is going to go right out the window as soon as she's gone. Soon as she has no more use for them, they're going to drop her like a hot piece of stink. And because she said so many other kooky things, that those wildfires in California were started by Jews with space lasers. Wow. I did not know. They called them Jewish space lasers.
I remember that.
Yeah. I didn't know we had Jewish space lasers. We have Gentile space lasers. I don't know these things, But anyway, but she also made all these other rants and raves over the years as a member of the House of Representatives. What really triggered all of this is really more than just her coming into her senses kind of thing, which is what The View would have you believe. Boy, I can't. That show kills me. It's like, if you want to watch an hour of total nitwittery, if that's a word, total knuckleheadery, that's a great time to spend your day. But anyway, the point is that she wanted to run for senator. There's going to be a Senate seat coming up in the next election. John Ossoff is the name of the senator that's running for re-election, and he's liberal for Georgia. He would have a hard time winning unless you had somebody like Greene running against him. She wanted to run for senator, and Trump called her and said, we're not going to support you. We're going to support this other guy. And since then, she has been on a warpath of revenge against Mr. Trump. You talk about a woman scorned. This is a great example of that. And by dropping her seat when she's doing it really does make it just that much harder for Trump to get his agenda through. And she knows it. There's talk about her wanting to run for governor of Georgia. Outside of that northwest corner of Georgia, which is so conservative, makes Johnson County look like Manhattan, she ain't got a chance. All right? most Republicans won't vote for outside of that district in Georgia. That 4th district of Northwest Georgia is conservative. All right. So there you are. That's what, because I had a couple of people ask me, what do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene? You think, what do you think she's come to this conclusion about Mr. Trump? She hasn't come to any conclusion about Trump other than that he betrayed her, is in her mind. And there you go. That it's all personal. It's nothing to do with some sort of renewed conscience or whatever, even though that video clip talked about how she regrets her part in the dialogue that was so poisonous and she, wishes she can take it back and all this other stuff. We'll see. Okay, we'll see. Maybe she's true. Maybe I'm being too cynical. Maybe it is true. Maybe she really is repentant. And we'll see, though. We'll see how she conducts herself in public life, or to see if she jumps on some cable news network and becomes, a ranter and raver. I know Fox ain't going to have her. But let's see what happens. Let's see if MS Now, which is what MSNBC used to be, and see if they bring them up, or CNN bring her up. So... And see how she conducts herself. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just being too old man, too cynical, whatever else. But you'll see.
How much you want to bet she's going to start a podcast after this?
Oh, well, she's going to say, well, hell, if Mr. Allard can do it, surely I can. She'll have something like that. For the next couple of years, she'll have a podcast and or maybe a speaking gig on some cable network. Or she'll have a YouTube show. Or she's not going away. You're going to hear from her again. Like I said, there's talk that she wants to run for governor of Georgia. And she may end up running for, Senate as an independent. Boy, and that would really stick it to the Republicans because, it's going to be a close race anyway. But if you have enough people that would have voted Republican vote for her and as a third-party race, it's just going to hand the race to Senator Ossoff, and Georgia will get hosed once again.
Mm-hmm.
So she's. I don't think she's done. But the thing about it is, it's like these people that go to Congress think that they have like a long, long afterlife, and they don't. I mean, when's the last time you heard of Matt Gaetz? As soon as he got booted out of Congress or he left on his own, have you heard anything from Matt Gaetz? Jasmine Crockett will be like that too. I think she's gonna run for the Democrat primary seat for Senate in Texas, and she'll get beat 3 ways to Sunday. All right, she's not going to win that, and she's not. If she did in Texas, I don't. You can run for more than one race at one time in a general election, but in primaries, those are run by the parties, not by the state of Texas. And so, a primary you can only pick one. And so, if she chooses to run as a senator because she didn't think she could win in a redrawn map, which, by the way, was suspended by a judge. Which that suspension was suspended by the Supreme Court, so that's still all up in the air. But the point is that if she gets out of office in any case, she may end up on MS Now or whatever, but she's done. All right, which would be good riddance. She's terrible, and has no moral compass either. So good luck. But I'm just saying these people think that their time in Washington makes them such a celebrity that everybody's going to want to hear what they have to say 5 years from now, and they don't. And they'll write a book that isn't going to sell. People that go on these book tours and whatever think that they're going to be racking up the sales. Kamala Harris's book is not selling a lot for good reason. So the point is that we haven't heard the last of her, but we will hear the last of her within a couple of years, particularly after the new administration takes over, particularly if it's another Republican administration, which who knows what's going to happen in 28. I quit giving up. That's kind of
a double negative, right?
Double negative. It's weird. I quit prognosticating those things now because I'm not good at it. That's why I don't bet on sports. I never bet on sports because I just be handing my money to somebody. All right.
Yeah.
And
especially after that rant you had with the Cowboys yesterday, that was
I would have lost money on that deal, But there you go. I guess I am a moderate Cowboy fan now. I used to be much more avid, but Jerry Jones has kind of beat some of that out of me. But I was glad to see him win. I mean, it was some guts yesterday they showed.
Yeah.
And
see, my dad was a diehard Cowboys fan for as long as I can remember. And up until this last year, he's just like,
Yeah, it comes
whatever happens.
Well, and you get that way when your team constantly not just loses, but just continues to find ways to lose. That's the way I am with my fighting Baylor Bears. I mean, what they did this weekend, I don't want to get in. This is something really inside the park kind of stuff because not everybody out there obviously not a Baylor fan, but they're going to keep their coach, and I thought we needed to give them the boot. And it's like, we got another year of this. It's disheartening, but
about it.
It really is. You got to have. You can't just do that to a fan base. But how did I get on sports? We ought to do a sports show sometime. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? I mean, it's Mr. Allard's neighborhood. I get to talk sports. I got some time coming up. I mean, it's a little harder to get guests in December because there's Christmas stuff going on. A lot of the companies that I'm talking with are busy. The school, Josh was ISD, is very busy, so I don't even bother asking. Of course, we'll see them in early February, I think. Next week, I have a couple open spots, but I have talked to a couple of people. But I'm going to have some open spots again, so maybe we can talk about this again. I don't know. What show number is this, by the way?
This would be 759, I want to say.
I thought it was more.
759.
759. I thought it was in the 780s. Oh, well. Time is flying.
I guess so.
Well, we're not doing the show Thursday, obviously, because of Thanksgiving. You got big plans?
Just stuff with family.
Yeah, me too.
Helping them cook, so it's going to be all hands on deck.
Get a second helping is all I got to say, all right?
I will.
All right. You get to the high carb stuff. Put some extra gravy on them potatoes. I got my mom and my sister's family coming over and my daughter. And so it's going to be tons of fun.
Nice.
And then my son's dropping by the day after. It's when you get to this stage, the other side of the family gets a turn too, All right. Thanks for listening. As far as any nonprofit stuff, I think the Alley Cats thing is about done. I think it was finished yesterday, but still the Toys for Tots is a big deal going on. It's coming up a week from Wednesday. It's going to be the event itself. So if you have time this week and they're having big Black Friday sales, and if you can, power your way through one of those sales at Target or whatever, you can pick up a couple unwrapped toys, and then Wednesday night you can drop it off there and you'll have help unloading it. And you get your picture with Santa, and you'll get a hug and a handshake from Jack Matson. It's going to be, again, 6 to 9:30 at Elk Stadium. Some call it Burleson ISD Stadium. You know where it is. There's only one football stadium in this town. If you can't make it Wednesday night, you can still go by the numerous places that have boxes for Toys for Tots. I know that I believe the Wethington Agency has one with Jeff Kelly. I believe Al has one, or the Hub has one. I know that Gina's and our place have boxes. So if you can't make it to Wednesday night or you're busy, whatever, just go by and drop them there and they'll pick them up. And Harvest House, Crowley House of Hope, Fountains Church are going to distribute them in about 10 days after that. And part of that also will be at the Center for ASD is having a Christmas ball and in support of Toys for Tots. It's going to be on the 13th of December. That's a Saturday. It's going to be over at the Loft Rustic Creek Ranch over by Jellystone. So you could bring toys there, and it's going to be a nice little dance. So they're from 6 to 11. So go by, help them out. Also, just check out the Center for ASD's website. I'm going to try to get them on before Christmas time. But, again, a lot of these nonprofits are pretty busy. So we'll see what happens. Well, I'm going to go home now. How about you, Josh? Or do you got another podcast to go?
No, you're the only one this week.
All right. Everybody taking a vacation. Good. Thanks for letting me rant and rave. Share this with your friends. I hope if you disagree, that's fine. I guess to sum it up, I'm just fatigued, like so many Americans are with all this that's going on. We want rational people making rational decisions, not calling each other names, not being silly and stupid, not trying to find a way onto a network podcast, broadcast kind of thing. We don't want pundits in office. We want representatives in office. We don't want people that spend more of their time ranting about the other side than worrying about what worries us. All right. So remember that in the coming election season. Is this person, Democrat or Republican, really concerned about you, or are they concerned about their own political careers more than anything else? Kind of a side note. This isn't something new, by the way. It's more prevalent to us because of all the media you get swamped with. But I was watching this miniseries on Netflix about the death of James Garfield. And historically, it's pretty accurate. Now, there's other parts in it that are a bit over the top that you don't need to bother with. All right. This is Netflix. This was done by the same producers of Games of Thrones. So you can imagine they throw a few bits.
Yeah, they got to embellish it.
Yeah, well, it's not so much they embellish the story, but they put side stories in that really don't matter. And a couple of them are a bit adult-oriented, you might say, and who cares? All right, that's not, we don't need that. So I can't really recommend it to you in a sense of that. But I'm just saying what they showed about the politics was pretty accurate. It was just as nasty in 1880 as it is now. We don't see it in 1880 like we do now as much. And we're just constantly just swamped with it. Even those people say, oh, I don't pay attention. You can't help but be swept up in the current. Politics in the Nixon administration, nasty. Reagan administration, they said some mean things about him and some untrue things. Same thing with, the Clinton administration, what they said about Mr. Clinton would not pass for Psalms. And it's always going to be that part because politics attracts those kind of people, unfortunately. The problem I'm having is that now where you can't avoid it. You can't shut yourself down and say, I don't care about that. And everything is tainted by politics, it seems like. You can't even watch a football game without it being part of it. ESPN is very woke. But it just, all I could say is, when it's time to talk to your members, representatives at the state level, at the national level, ask them if this is really what you intended for us to happen. Was it really your intention for Mr. Trump to take away the professional designation for nurses? Did you see that?
No, I did not.
In the last bill, One Beautiful Bill, they took away a whole raft of professional designations. You say, well, not just being insulting, what that also does is it limits their ability to access school loans, school financing. I'd make them non-professions. And I know this because my son's fiance is a nurse now and going to be going through grad school. And now she's not a professional. Are you kidding me? There's hardly anything more professional than being a nurse. And there's all sorts of other things. Therapists and counselors and whatever else are now being designated as non-professional. Why? I have no idea. Why is it this way? Why does it have to be this way? And that's my ending question. Does it have to be this way? Can't we do better? Let's drop the partisan affiliations and do better. And not just accept the fact that our president calls reporters pigs, or accept the fact that Jasmine Crockett claims that Jeffrey Epstein gave money to all these other Republicans, even though there's 190 Jeffrey Epsteins in the greater New York area. I'd hate to have that name, wouldn't you?
Oh, boy.
If that's a true story. There's a doctor, Jeffrey Epstein, gave money to a Republican candidate. And she gets on there and says this pedophile gave it to him. The guy says, hey, no, it was me. She goes, shut up. Don't care. I'm sticking to my story.
What a mess.
It is. And it really is.
Yeah.
And we've gone through the messes before, but it just seems like the waves keep coming. So I'd like to let's leave it on a happier note. Despite all the crap we see in Washington and in Austin, for that matter, most of the American people I know still are American people. Left, right, moderate, whatever. And at this Thanksgiving, let's be glad that we could have Thanksgiving. Let's be glad I could sit here on a podcast and rant and rave. Let's be glad that we don't have to let politics dictate our relationships. Let's be glad that we can get together and watch football or have food or do whatever y'all do on Thanksgiving and not have to worry about, the things that so many other people around the world have to worry about. So probably I'll probably have one more of these rants before Christmas because there's several things we talk about, but that'll have to wait till next month. So y'all out there in the vast listening audience, share if you wish, like, please. I need the views. And y'all have a great, happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.